Have you ever been stuck at a certain level and it seems like you just can't get better? It's like you've just hit a brick wall and you can't improve. Well, then this video is for you. Because in this video, we're going to do a rate and climb from 900 to around 1100. And we're going to be analyzing and explaining those games as we go. This video is very important, especially if you're anywhere between 800 and the 1500 rating, because we're going to explain lots of principles that you must use in your games. So without further ado, let's get into it. So we're going to be playing game number 1 versus Palatlarinkin 883. So we're gonna play e4. Why do we play e4? We want to control the center because controlling the center is very important, because if you control the center, you basically have access to all the other sides of the board. And also we want to open up diagonals and files for our pieces. So before we play d4, our bishop on f1 is kind of stuck. But once we play d4, our bishop is now free to roam. And so principle number 1, controlling the center. And we're going to play knight f3, developing a piece while attacking the pawn. So principle number 2, develop your pieces, because if you have all your pieces stuck and undeveloped, well then you can't attack. You can't do anything basically, since your pieces aren't doing anything. And usually you have to develop knights before bishops. Now you shouldn't always do this rule, but most times that's the way to go, because bishops from their home square control 6 or 5 squares, but knights only control 2 or 3. And that's why you should develop knights, because bishops are already doing a job, unlike knights who aren't doing anything important. And so principle number 1, controlling the centers. Principle number 2, developing your pieces. And principle number 3, which isn't, while developing those pieces, you should do knights first. And principle number 4, which our opponent didn't do, don't develop the queen, and you'll see why. Because once you play knight c3, you're threatening knight d5, attacking the queen. So the queen kind of gets bullied by our minor pieces, which are the bishops and knights, since they aren't as important as rooks and queens. So they kind of get bullied a lot, and that will give us a lot more attacking chances, because we could keep attacking this queen. And we're going to develop our bishop, since we developed both of our knights. He played bishop c5, and as you see here, the bishop on c1 is stuck, because the pawn on d2 isn't moving. So we're going to move the pawn so that bishop could roam freely. And as you see here, because he developed his queen, he wasted moves stopping our queen attacks. He played c6, c6, which stops our knight attack, but he wasn't developing a piece. And over here, he played h6, stopping our bishop g5 attack, and he's wasting moves, and he isn't developing pieces. So now we've already castled, and he's only developed one minor piece. And if you're wondering why should we ever castle, it's just a waste of moves. Well, because here, before we castled, our king doesn't have any pieces in front of him to defend him. But once we castle, we have this kind of pawns that act as a wall to defend our king. We're just gonna play bishop e3, offering a trade of pieces. And a very important rule, it isn't really like a principle, but you should always keep it in mind. After every move, you should ask yourself, okay, what are my pieces that are hanging? And what's a hanging piece? It's a piece that your opponent can capture and it isn't defended. So you should always keep it in mind after and before you play. So I always keep in mind, if I play any move, like a3 for example, just a random move, are any of my pieces hanging? No, all my pieces are defended, and he isn't attacking any particular piece that isn't defended. So we're just gonna take his knight. Why do we take his knight? Because this, you probably won't use it in your games, but now his pawn structure, yes, there's a pawn structure, is bad because his pawns are doubled, which means they can't defend each other. And how do you get another doubled pawn? Well, by taking the bishop. Because once he takes back, these pawns can't defend each other anymore, which means they're really, really easy to attack. And that's what you're gonna do. We're gonna play knight e4, attacking the doubled pawns. And as you see here, we have two knights fully developed, and he doesn't have a single piece developed. And he just hanged a pawn on e5. You should always check not only your hanging pieces, but also your opponent's hanging pieces. So you could see if you could take any of his pieces. So we have two pieces hanging. And I'm going to take one of them, which is the e5 pawn. And as you realize, I'm attacking the queen right now. So and that's one of the main reasons you should develop your queen early. It's because your queen will be attacked so many times that you don't have enough time to develop your other pieces. And that's what you're going to do. How do you attack his queen? While defending the knight, since the knight is hanging, always remember hanging pieces, play f4. Attacking the queen while defending the knight. And as you see here, we're attacking the queen, attacking the pawn on c6, and attacking the pawn on c5. And it's almost impossible to defend all these, and he didn't defend them. So you could just simply take a knight on c5. 9 times out of 10, you should take a hanging piece if your own pieces aren't hanging. He played knight e7, and you're just gonna play f5, kind of creating this pawn wall that will stop his bishop from developing. And when you're up pieces, you have to try to trade as many pieces as possible. So I'm going to play queen g4, threatening a trade of queens. And he shouldn't take. That doesn't mean he won't take. He might take, but he shouldn't take. Because if he does, he ends up... And he didn't take. Okay, but now, do you see a fork? There is a fork, knight d7, forking the rook and queen. If he takes back, we could simply... And our knight on d7 is defended by our other knight on c5. So you should always look for hanging pieces. Your hanging pieces, your opponent's hanging pieces, and all kinds of tactics. And I don't know if you realized this, but I have 11 seconds on the clock. And that's very important because if your time runs out, no matter how many pieces you have, no matter how good your position is, it doesn't matter if you're one move away from checkmate. He played queen c5. Just gonna move my king. It doesn't matter because if your time clocks out, or if your time runs out, you lose. And he hung a queen. You should always look for hanging pieces. He played queen c5, which is defended by the knight, so you just take back. And now I have to play really fast since my time is running out. So you should always look for time. You should always think, okay, I'm just going to play e5, pushing pawns and trying to get as much activity as possible. He played knight d5. What is he attacking? He's attacking my d4 pawn, so I've got to play e5, defending my d4 pawn. He played knight e3, forking the queen and rook, and that is a mistake by me because I didn't see the fork. He took, and we just simply take back. Remember, always think of time, and that's why I'm playing really fast. What are my main goals? Well, I have to develop my rook, obviously, because my rook is kind of at the corner. He's attacking my pawn, though. I can't develop because he's attacking my pawn, so I'm just going to push the pawn. you should always look for hanging pieces. He's attacking my pawn, so just push this pawn, attacking his rook and defending my d4 pawn. And next move, I'm probably gonna play rook e1. I need to develop as many pieces as possible, and I need to trade as many. He hung a rook. You could just simply take that. Remember your opponent's hanging pieces. That's also very important. Not just your pieces, but your opponent's hanging pieces. He took, and you're just gonna develop our rook. Finally, we're finally gonna develop our rook, and we're threatening to take this pawn because it's attacked by the queen and the knight, and it's only defended by his bishop. So you have two attackers, the knight and queen, and he only has one defender, the bishop. So in this position, he played king f8. That doesn't do anything, and we're just gonna take. He took back, and we took back with the queen. Now we're attacking the a7 pawn and the c6 pawn. He just pushed a piece, so we could just simply take it. Always look for your opponent's hanging pieces, and always look for your hanging pieces. Is my rook or queen hanging? No, so you could just simply push the pawn. And this pawn is defended by the rook, so he can't take it. He played f6. Do not take with the pawn, because then he could take your rook and checkmate you. Instead, just take with the queen. I'm gonna show you and I'm gonna explain more in the analysis. So right now, I'm just gonna push my pawns, trying to promote. He hung a rook, so you're just gonna take that. And the rest is very simple. Just checkmate. Very, very simple. No need to explain anything. I'm just gonna try to promote nothing. And if you're finding this really unhelpful, I'm gonna make everything clearer in the analysis of this game. Right now, I'm just kind of pre-moving because I don't have lots of time, but it's alright. I'm gonna explain it all in the analysis. Okay, game over. Now we'll go back to the end of to the beginning of the game. Excuse me. And I'm gonna be showing you the game. So I played e4, and he responded with e5. Again, why did I play e4? The reason I played e4 is because before, excuse me, I just want to, okay, so before my bishop and my queen were kind of stuck behind the pawns, behind the e2 pawn. So I need to move my e2 pawn aside so I could create space for my bishop to escape and go out in the open and be free, because very important, you have to always develop your pieces. So your pieces, and what is that? So you should always look for how to develop your pieces, because if you just played like any moves and your opponent keeps developing their pieces and you don't, well, then they're gonna have so much activity and so much control of the area that you can't do anything, and you're just eventually gonna lose. So, and the second reason I played e4 is that I want to control the center. I control the d5 square, and the reason that I should control the center is just if he plays any random move, if he plays anything. Okay, if I play knight d5, there's a knight in the center. The knight is controlling 8 squares: c7, b6, b4, c3, and e3, f4, f6, e7. So he's controlling 8 squares, which means that it's very hard for my opponent to move, because any of these 8 squares, if he moved any piece on those 8 squares, that piece could get captured. It might be defended and might not, but if he plays any piece to those squares, there's a possibility that they could be captured. And that's why controlling the center is very important. So I played d4, controlling the center, and preparing to develop my bishop. He played e5, doing the exact same thing, preparing to develop his bishop while controlling the center. Bishop while controlling the center. I play knight f3, developing my knight. Again, you should always develop pieces, but you should usually develop knights before bishops. For the reasons I explained in the game, but if you weren't paying attention, the reason is the bishop from its home square f1 controls 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 squares. Unlike the knight from its home square g1, it only controls f3, e2, and h3. Only 3 squares, which is very, very bad compared to the bishop's 5 squares, which is nearly double. So I play knight f3, developing a piece while attacking the e5 pawn. And the best move in this position is playing knight c6, developing his knight while defending the pawn. But what he did was a very bad move. It's queen f6. The reason it's a bad move is because, first thing, you shouldn't develop your queen or rook in the beginning of the game. Now, it's obviously very hard to develop the rook since in the corner. But if you have a chance to develop it early in game, you shouldn't. Because the queen could get bullied by my minor pieces, could get attacked a lot by my minor pieces, which are bishop, knight, and knight. And that's what I did. As you see, I play knight c3, threatening to play knight d5. If he plays knight c6, I could simply play knight d5, and now I'm attacking his queen while threatening c7, the pawn on c7. And he has to waste a move. He has to go back, wasting a move. And if you're on black side, you don't want to waste moves. And black has the same thing. Black also doesn't want to waste moves. So he didn't play knight c6. He played an even worse move, c6, which not only controls the square where the knight wants to go, the knight wants to go to c6, and then suddenly you play c6. But also, it's wasting a move that you could have used for your advantage. And the reason he played c6 is to stop my knight d5 threat. And that's why you shouldn't develop your queen, because you're going to spend so much time defending the queen that you're going to forget about all your other pieces. So I played bishop c4. I should have played d4 instead, but right now I won't play it since it's a bit of a complicated move. Instead I played bishop c4, developing a bishop. Normal. He played bishop c5, developing his bishop, and I played d3. The reason I played d3 is because maybe I want to attack the queen by playing bishop g5. And again, another reason why he shouldn't develop his queen. He wasted a move by playing h6, stopping this threat. So now I've already developed 1, 2, and 3 of my minor pieces, and he has only developed 1. I castle, bringing my king to safety behind this wall of pawns, and also getting the rook closer to the center. He played d6, preparing to develop his bishop, maybe here or here, but he's trying to develop his bishop. I played bishop e3, offering a trade of bishops. He didn't accept that trade and played knight a6. And in this position, I took the knight. The reason I took it is that once he takes back, he has these a7 and a6 pawns that can't defend each other. So before, they're kind of close to each other, and if he played any move like b6, the a7 would be defending. What was that? The a7 would be defending b6. But I didn't do that. I mean, he didn't do that. Instead, he played knight a6. And instead, he played knight a6, excuse me. And then I got a chance to make these pawns doubled pawns, which means they can defend each other because they're on top of each other. and pawns don't defend pieces that are in front of them. You probably know that since you're watching this video, which is about chess, and those are chess rules, obviously. I took the bishop, creating another set of doubled pawns, and I played knight f4, attacking the pawn on c5. He played g6, queen g6, not g6, and here he blundered a pawn. I could simply take that pawn, which is what I did since before. So I should always think, what are my pieces that are hanging after I played a move? So in this position, my piece was, his pawn was hanging. And when I took, I thought, okay, is my knight hanging? Is my knight on e5 hanging? No, it wasn't. So it's a safe move. He played queen g5. And in this position, I could have took the pawn, but I wanted to keep attacking his queen, bullying his queen, so I played f4, defending my knight while attacking his queen. And obviously, you should always think, is my piece hanging? No, it isn't, because it's defended by the rook. So he played queen h4, and I just simply took the pawn at c5. This position, he played knight e7. So if you thought to take this pawn, you should always think, is my piece hanging? Yes, it is, because now the knight is defending the pawn, so the knight could just simply be captured. And so in this position, I played f5, kind of creating this strong pawn chain. And I'm also playing Connect 4 while playing a chess. How cool is that? He played castles, and in this position, I have two extra pieces, two extra pawns. And when you have extra pawns, you should try to trade, not just extra pawns, extra pieces, any single extra piece. You should try to trade pieces. Okay, wait, let me rephrase that. I said it kind of complicated. If you have extra pieces, you should try to trade as much pieces as possible with the opponent. So that's what I did. I played queen g4, threatening a queen trade. He didn't accept it. He played queen f6, and here I did a mistake. Knight f6, knight d7, not knight f6. And it is a fork. That is correct. I did apply the rule. I always think of hanging pieces, because when I played knight d7, I thought that it was defended. But what I didn't think of is that he didn't use this tactic in game, but he could have used it. And it is that always think of your opponent's tactics. Always think of your opponent's tactics, which he could have done. He could have took the knight and then played queen d4, which is a fork. And I didn't see that in game. I didn't see the tactic. So another important rule in chess, isn't a principle, but it's a very important rule. Always think about your opponent's possible attacks and tactics. And I didn't do that. But thankfully, he didn't see the tactic, and instead he blundered his queen on c5. So, as you see here, I thought to myself, okay, what are my opponent's pieces that are hanging? I saw the queen was hanging, and I immediately took it, since it's a full queen. And after here, it's very simple. He played rook e8, and I played e5. Why did I play e5? Well, other than I had 10 seconds on the clock, but I wanted to kind of make a pass pawn, which what a pass pawn is. This might be a little bit advanced for those ratings, but what a pass pawn is, it's basically a pawn that's unstoppable to become a queen. So I'm trying to promote this pawn on e5, and I'm trying to make it a queen by moving it to e8, for example. But I can't do that immediately, obviously. But that was my game plan. He played knight d5, and I played d4. Why did I play d4? Because I thought, what are my what are the pieces that are hanging for me, and I saw that my pawn was hanging, so I defended it. And the same mistake happened in this game. I didn't think what are my opponent's tactics, and he had a tactic, which is a fork, knight e3, forking my queen and my rook. And this time he didn't blunder a queen since he didn't have a queen. Instead, he played it. So I just moved my queen aside because I obviously don't want to blunder my queen. Instead, I would sacrifice my rook. So I took the rook and I took back. And here he played rook b8, attacking the b2 pawn. I just moved it. I mean, it was attacked. I thought, what are my pieces that are hanging? And I moved them. He played rook b4 and attacking this pawn, and I defended it, and at the same time attacking his rook. And here he played g8-6, which is a blunder, because he hanged the rook, and I took the rook. I don't think that's complicated. So he took my pawn, and a lot of beginners would think that, okay, let me just take a pawn, free pawn. And then they would forget to check if your pieces are hanging, and you would lose a queen. So always check if after you play a move, for example, queen takes f5, if your pieces are hanging. And I checked that, and that's why I didn't take it. I played rook e1, just bringing my rook to the center, developing it. And he played king f8, which I'm not really sure what it does. It just moved the king. And there's another mistake that a lot of beginners do. They play pointless moves, like moves without a plan, which it's like king f8. It's a move without a plan. It doesn't have anything. It doesn't attack anything. It doesn't make his king safer in any way. He kind of just played it. So I took the pawn since I saw my opponent's piece that was hanging. He took back, and I took with the queen. And it's basically game over. He played f4, which is another pointless move, and I took the pawn. Here he played f6. And in this position, he didn't play rook e7. Oh, excuse me, he did not play f6. He played rook e7, and I played d5 with the idea of trying to queen, promoting another queen. So he played f6, and in this position, I don't know how many people would actually play this, but I think a lot. I think a lot of people would take back, which would lead to a checkmate. Remember, after every move, you should check if your pieces are hanging. If I played this move, if I took his pawn with my pawn and didn't check if my rook would be hanging, well, then it would have been game over. He could have ticked. That's checkmate. And that just shows the power of always checking if your pieces are hanging. And thankfully, I did check if my pawn was with my rook, if my pieces are hanging. Why do I keep saying that? I keep repeating myself. So I took with the queen instead. He played rook e8, and I played d6. And after here, it's very simple. I just took the rook, just gave him a couple of checks, promoted a queen, and checkmated him. And sometimes in endgames, you should always check out for stalemates. But in this position, there isn't a stalemate because he has 1, 2, and 3 pawns which he can move. And if he can move, then that means it's obviously not checkmate. I took the pawn, and that's checkmate. So let's go to game number 2. Okay, game number 2 versus Stefan VDP. He played d4, and I'm gonna play d5. Again, controlling the center, just like in my previous game, controlling the center and ready to develop my bishop. But knight's before bishop, so I play knight f6. If you weren't paying attention, knights before bishops, because knight from their home square only control 3 squares, unlike bishops who control 5 squares. So they're already kind of doing something. So that's why I'm developing my knights before bishops. And in case you're wondering, he's 949. Play knight f3, and now I develop my bishop since I've already developed both of my knights. And I'm always focusing on this. I'm focusing on the center, which are these four squares, if you were wondering. Play bishop d3 and keep things simple. If you're in the low rating level, you should always try to keep things simple, and that's why I just took his. And that's why I took his bishop. So he plays queen takes d3, and I'm gonna play e6, preparing to develop my bishop. Okay, we had a few technical issues, and I came back. I didn't move a single piece though. He played c3, and I'm gonna play bishop d6. Just trading bishops, threatening a trade, and developing my own bishop. Not like that. What is with my arrows? Yeah, very, very simple and straightforward. Developing a piece and possibly getting a trade. And he's thinking, okay, he played 95. Do not take with the knight, because if you take back, you need to use your imagination a bit. Here, take back and doing a trade. I'm gonna explain it in the analysis, but since right now we don't have the time and I can't play it because I can't really show it, since we want to win the game, not lose it. So I'm just gonna keep things simple and take his knight with the bishop and not with my knight for the reasons I'll show in the analysis. So watch the full analysis of the game to find out. He took back with the pawn and attacking my knights. I'm thinking, what are my hanging pieces? My knight is hanging, so I'm just gonna move back, attacking his pawn. I have two attackers, and he has only one defender. So I played knight d2, hanging the pawn, so he could just simply take it and attacking his queen as well at the same time. So now I'm attacking his queen. His queen has to move to b5 or would go back or has to go back. And he plays queen b5. I'm going to play queen d7. So he has two options here. One, he could take. And number two, he could play queen takes b7. And in this position, he chose to take on b7. Which, in this position, he's attacking my rook, so I'm just gonna castle. Very easy, straightforward. He is attacking. Oh, wait. I forgot to explain something important. Over here, once he took my rook, I don't need to move my king or move my rook to defend it. Instead, I could simply castle, and now my rook is defending my other rook. I'm gonna explain more analysis. He played king. He castled, so I'm gonna play knight d3, forking the king and the pawn on f2. So it's basically just a free pawn. There is another move though, which is better, but it's a bit more complicated. And it's a bit harder and it needs a lot of thinking. And that's why I'm not gonna play it. He played king, c2, and just take a pawn. And as you see here, I'm doing a fork between the two rooks. Rook on h1 and rook on d1. So if he moves one, I could take the other. And again, I'm always thinking in my head, is my knight on f2 hanging? Is my queen hanging? Is my rook hanging? And since they're not hanging, I could simply take the rook. So always remember, very important. Yes, I keep saying it. Yes, I keep repeating myself, and it's very boring, I know, but you have to think about it. It's just one of the most important rules in chess is your piece hanging. And I don't want his queen to be here. It's kind of annoying. It's in my position, so I'm gonna play b8. I played rook b8, kicking the queen out of my territory. And I don't play this rook a to b8, and which is like this rook to here, because then you take my pawn, and yes, it is all right, since there are some other tactics I could do, but I don't want to make things more complicated for you. So he moved the queen aside, and I want to attack it again. Just completely get it out of my inventory Get it out of my position. Just get out of my position. Bye-bye. I hate you. So he has to move either to a3 or somewhere. He has multiple options, and he plays queen f1. Okay. And in this position, I want to attack this pawn. And how do I attack it? By playing rook b8, doubling my rooks. This is called doubled rooks, because they're both on the same file, so they're kind of like doubled. And now he blundered. He played knight e4, and I shouldn't take. If I take, just like in my previous game, but this time it isn't checkmate, he could take the queen on d1, and it's actually, and I can take, but rook b2 is better, because if I take, I'll enter a lot of tactics and stuff, and everything will be so complicated. Instead, there's such a very simple option. Just take rook b2, and he has to move his king somewhere. If he moves king c1, I'm gonna play rook b1, another check. And here it's literally just game over, because if he plays king c2, I could play rook to b2, and I'm forcing him to expose his king more. And in this position, if I take the pawn, he cannot take my queen, because his king is in the way. So taking the pawn is safe. Very straightforward. Just his king was in the rook's way, so he cannot take my queen. And in this position, I'm just gonna take the rook. Just a free rook. If he takes back, I could take back with my queen. And another mistake that a lot of people fall to is that they're like, oh my god, I have a full rook, I have a queen, I have a knight, I have a bishop, I know that, but they forget the back rank. And I'm silently thinking to myself, okay, can his queen check me on the back rank? No, the queen cannot hop to a8 somehow. Only ChatGPT can do that. And checkmate me. No, even if it does that, I could block with my queen. And in this position, white hung mate in 1. I could simply play queen d5, checkmate. So let's analyze the board. So let's analyze the game. So we go to the beginning, to the very beginning, where it all started. He played d4 and I played d5, and the point of d5 controlling the center. What's with my arrows? And okay. And trying to develop my bishop. He played bishop f4, developing a bishop, and I played knight f6. Just developing my knight. Nothing really special, while controlling the center. Defending my d5 pawn a bit more, just really basic stuff. He plays e3, and I play knight c6, developing another knight, because knights before bishops. He played knight f3, and I played bishop f5, developing my bishop. He played bishop d3, offering a trade, and since I want to keep things simple, I'll take. And he just take back, and I played e6, trying to develop my bishop. And as you see here, just like in the previous game, it's all very similar. I developed my knight first, and then I tried to develop my bishops, keeping things simple. It's all very kind of the same. And in the opening, it's kind of like that, especially at the lower levels, because you don't need to memorize like hard openings and crazy things and variations. It's just develop pieces, control the center. Don't bring your queen out too early. And yes, he did bring his queen out, but it isn't very early, and I can't really attack it in any way. It's kind of defended by this big blob of pieces over here. So I played bishop, he played c3, and I played bishop d6. And I'm trying to trade pieces. He played knight e5, which isn't a very good move. And in the game, I told you that I won't play knight e5, and I'll be explaining it in the analysis. So hopefully you're still around, because right now I'm gonna be explaining it. Because always think of tactics. Because if I take the knight, he can take back, and it's a fork. Okay, what is that? It's a fork. He's attacking my bishop, and he's attacking my knight. And my position isn't really the most comfortable. Comfortable. Good. So, and that's why I took with the bishop, because if he takes, it isn't a fork, because then you realize suddenly, oh wait, he doesn't have a bishop on d6 to fork. And that's why I took. I played knight d7, attacking the pawn on e5. I played knight d2, and I took the pawn on e5. He took back, and I simply took back. In this position, I'm attacking his queen. He didn't blunder his queen. Instead, he played queen b5, forking my king and the pawn on b7. The pawn on b7. What's with my arrows? And I just played queen d7, offering a queen trade. If he takes, I can simply take back with the knight or the king. It doesn't really matter, because king safety in the endgame isn't really a thing. Instead, in endgames, which is the end of the game, your king is an offensive piece. So he didn't take the queen though. Instead, he took the pawn, and I castled. A useful tip: you don't need to move your rook. Instead, you could castle, and since the rook became an f8, it is now defending the rook on a8. So he castled, which is a blunder, and I played knight d3. Yes, I did play knight d3, and now I took his pawn on f2, forking both of his rooks. So now I'm guaranteed to get a rook, and I did get a rook, and I wanted to kick his queen out. I could have played this rook to here. It doesn't really make a difference, but he could take, and then we're gonna enter a lot of new lines and stuff that isn't really necessary, since, again, keep things simple. So instead I played here, and I played rook b6, kicking his queen out even more. He played all the way to f1, and I really accomplished the mission of kicking his queen out. So I got an achievement. Queen got kicked out. Okay, that wasn't funny. I played rook b8, doubling my rooks, and trying to take the pawn on b2. If he played knight e4, and it's a mistake because I could take. But what happens if I don't take? Well, then he could take my queen. And it is all right, but the reason it's all right is actually it contains tactics in it, but I'm gonna show you anyways. Rook takes b2. If he plays king d1, for example, rook b1. If he plays, for example, king e2, I could play rook b2, and it's almost checkmate, except if he plays rook d2, where I could take and win a queen. And I don't want to explain. I don't want to make chess complicated for beginners. Right now, I'm just kind of focusing on making it as simple as possible. So I didn't take, and instead I immediately took the pawn. and he plays king c1. I kept checking him until his king became in front of his rook. And in that case, I could simply take the knight. And I won a rook. And from here, he just blundered mate. So that was checkmate. And now let's go on to game 3. Okay, game 3 versus Cherbourg 85. E4 and knight f3, developing a piece while attacking the e5 pawn. He played knight c6, and I developed knight. Remember, knights before bishop. And now we entered the 4 knights game. I don't want to really explain stuff to you a lot, but it's just, this isn't an opening lesson. But it's just called the 4 knights game because there are 4 knights. I know you know how to count, and it's just very simple. There are 4 knights, so it's called the 4 knights game. So we gotta develop our bishop. Remember, developing pieces while controlling the center. And this bishop is feeling kind of sad. It can't really develop. So I'm gonna play d3, opening a line for it to develop. And possibly playing knight d5, so we could use the pinned knight, because the knight is pinned to the queen because of the bishop. And he attacked my bishop with the pawn, so I'm just gonna move back. I mean, I won't leave my bishop there. I have to always think about hanging pieces. Always think about hanging pieces. I know you have a brain, so you could do it. It's not hard. Just think if your pieces are hanging, and that's literally it. You might never hang a piece in your life. Except when you don't think about hanging pieces. Well, then you will hang pieces. Okay. I might stop talking about hanging pieces, but it is very important. So you have to think about it. And he played queen e8, getting rid of the pin. So I'm just gonna take back. And once he takes back, he will have doubled pawns. So as you see here, he did not take back. Did he misclick? Wait, I think he misclicked. I think he wanted to take. I think he wanted to take my bishop, but instead he didn't. And he can't offer a take back. So, I'm gonna play knight d5. And he's mad. Okay, he's free moving. And, okay, so in this position, he blundered a fork. So, and his queen is trapped, actually. So it isn't, the fact that it's a fork isn't really important because his queen is trapped. The queen can't go to d8. The queen can't go to e7 because of my bishop. And the queen can't, so my bishop is controlling these. And my knight is controlling this and this, which means it's his queen can't escape, and it's a free queen. I honestly feel kind of bad for him since he misclicked. Okay, he resigned. This game was very short, very, very, very short. Only 10 moves. That's because he did the misclick. So e4, trying to develop the bishop and controlling the center. I keep repeating myself in this video. Oh my god, dude. Knight f3, attacking the pawn while developing a piece. Knight e6, defending a pawn while developing a piece. Knight e3 and knight f6, the 4 knights game, since there are a total of four knights. So I played bishop c4, developing a bishop. He played bishop c5, developing his bishop. And in this position, I played d3 because this pawn, was in front of the bishop, so the bishop can't escape. So just move the pawn And now the bishop can escape. So we're gonna use my bishop to possibly pin the knight, and that's what we did. What's wrong with my arrows today, dude? He castled, and I played bishop g5, pinning. Finally, a good arrow for once. Pinning his knight to the queen. He played h6, and I played bishop h4, keeping spin. He plays queen e8, and what my plan was that if I take, he would take back, and now I have these bad set of doubled pawns, and I played knight d5, attacking this pawn and attacking this pawn, and then you'll have a lot of weak pawns, and his king is kind of exposed since I broke, because before he had these 3 pawns defending him, but now if he took, these pawns would kind of just break apart, and now his king isn't defended as well, and I'd use that to attack him. But he misclicked and he played g6. So I played knight d5, attacking the pawn. He pre-moved b6, and when I took that pawn, his queen is trapped. His queen can't go here because I just take. His queen can't go here because I just take. And the queen can't go here because I just take. So that's very simple. And that's basically the entire game. It's only 10 moves. So I really appreciate you watching this video, and please subscribe so you could see more of these types of videos. And if you've enjoyed this videos, go watch episode 2 if it's out.